March 1925, a luxury hotel suite in Paris. 6 of the richest scrap metal dealers in France raise their glasses with a senior government official. The official has just offered them something impossible, a chance to buy the Eiffel Tower. One of them will say yes. He'll hand over a fortune. And when he discovers the truth, he won't call the police. He won't tell a soul. Because the man he paid didn't work for the government. He was a con artist, possibly the greatest who ever lived. And you're probably thinking, how could anyone fall for this? That's exactly what the second group of victims thought, months later, when he came back and sold the tower again. This is the Greed Files. File number 1, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower. To understand how a man sells a national monument, you need to understand Paris in 1925. The Eiffel Tower was 36 years old, and it was falling apart. It was never meant to be permanent. It was built for the 1889 World's Fair with a 20-year permit. By the 20s, it was rusting. Repainting it swallowed 60 tons of paint, and the city was bleeding money to keep it standing. So one morning, a Paris newspaper asked a dangerous question. Should the Eiffel Tower be torn down? Most of Paris read that headline and turn the page. One man read it and saw a business plan. His name, well, one of his many names, was Victor Lustig. Count Victor Lustig if you asked him. The title was fake. So was almost everything else about him. He was born in 1890 in a small town in Austria-Hungary. Sharp, charming, gifted with languages. The kind of kid teachers call promising. By 19, he had a scar across his cheek. A souvenir from a jealous rival. And a new understanding. Charm opens doors that honesty can't. He drifted to Paris, learned poker, billiards. And the oldest lesson in gambling, the real money isn't in playing the game. It's in owning the story around it. As a young man, he worked the great ocean liners between Paris and New York. First-class lounges, card tables, champagne. On board, he posed as a Broadway producer, collecting investments for shows that would never exist. By the time the ship docked, the money had a new home. 5 languages, perfect manners. And one supernatural gift, people simply trusted him. Now he was about to answer a question no criminal had ever thought to ask. How do you sell a national monument that isn't yours? Step 1, paperwork. Lustig hired a forger to produce a stack of official government stationery. On paper, he became the Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. Step 2, the guest list. Private letters went out to the biggest scrap metal dealers in France. An urgent, confidential meeting at the Hotel de Crillon, the most prestigious address in Paris. Tell absolutely no one. Step 3, the performance. The dealers arrived. Lustig apologized for all the mystery. Then he dropped the bomb. Gentlemen, the government has decided to demolish the Eiffel Tower. 7,000 tons of iron sold for scrap to one of the men in this room. It sounds absurd today. In 1925, it was completely believable. The newspapers had already done Lustig's marketing for him. He even rented a limousine and drove the dealers to the tower for a private inspection. But the tour was never about the tower. It was about them. Lustig was hunting. He studied the 6 men. Who asked questions? Who doubted? And who wanted it a little too much? He found his answer. André Poisson. Poisson was rich, but new rich. The old Paris elite looked straight through him. He was desperate for a seat at their table. And buying the Eiffel Tower isn't a business deal. It's immortality. There was just one problem. Madame Poisson. She didn't trust this smooth, mysterious official. Why the secrecy? Why the hurry? Her husband started to hesitate. This is the moment an ordinary con man starts sweating. Lustig did the exact opposite. He invited Poisson to a private meeting, and then he confessed. You must understand, he sighed. I am a public servant. The salary is modest. Men in my position are expected to supplement it. He asked for a bribe. And that, strangely, is what sealed the deal. Because in Poisson's mind, imposters don't ask for bribes. Corrupt officials do. And corrupt officials are real. The doubt evaporated. Poisson handed over around 70,000 francs. The tower, plus a little extra for the Count's trouble. Lustig handed him a beautifully worthless contract, walked out of the hotel, and boarded the night train to Vienna. And then Victor Lustig did something almost supernatural. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He just read newspapers. Every morning, he scanned the Paris press. Nothing. No headline. No scandal. No manhunt. Weeks passed. The tower stood exactly where it had always stood. And somewhere in Paris, a rich man quietly pretended he had never heard of the Ministry of Posts. Because Lustig understood something about rich men that the police never could, André Poisson would rather lose a fortune than let all of Paris laugh at him. The perfect crime doesn't need to be hidden. It just needs a victim who will hide it for you. André Poisson never filed a report. As far as anyone knows, he carried the secret for the rest of his life. So Lustig did the unthinkable. He went back. Same city, same suite, same speech. 6 brand new scrap dealers. This time, one of them quietly checked with the police. Lustig was on a ship to America within days. In the States, he kept working. His favorite product was a small mahogany box. He'd feed in a real $100 bill with a sheet of blank paper, turn the little brass dials, and out came a second perfect 100. And the demonstration took 6 hours. Why? Because Lustig claimed the box needed 6 hours to process each bill. 6 hours of waiting built more belief than any sales pitch ever could. He called it a Rumanian money box. It was, of course, rigged. The second bill was planted inside before the demonstration. The going price for a box was around $10,000. Some buyers reportedly paid 3 times that for a wooden crate with a crank. He sold them to greedy investors up and down the East Coast. By the time a box stopped working, the count was 3 states away. One of his buyers was reportedly a county sheriff from Texas, a man whose literal job was catching criminals. When the box stopped producing, the sheriff tracked Lustig all the way to Chicago, furious, hand on his revolver. Lustig calmly explained that the sheriff had simply been operating the box wrong and refunded him on the spot, in cash. A few weeks later, the sheriff was arrested in New Orleans for paying with counterfeit bills. The refund was fake. The con had a sequel built in. The story goes he even conned Al Capone, borrowed $50,000, returned every cent 2 months later, and let Capone reward his honesty. True or not, it captures the method perfectly. Lustig never sold objects. He sold trust. By the 30s, he'd cut out the middleman and started printing money for real, a counterfeiting ring pushing out fake bills by the million. His partner was a Nebraska chemist named William Watts, a quiet genius with engraving plates. Their bills were so clean that banks passed them for years without blinking. Federal agents even had a nickname for the flood, Lustig money. By some counts, American police arrested him around 50 times, and around 50 times they had to let him go. No evidence, no witnesses willing to talk. The Secret Service hunted him for years. What finally broke the case wasn't detective work. It was his mistress, who found out about a younger woman, picked up a telephone, and made one anonymous call. Agents tailed him for months. When they finally cornered him on a Manhattan Street corner, he was carrying almost nothing, just a single small key. The key opened a locker in the Times Square subway station. Inside, $51,000 in counterfeit bills and the printing plates. Even then, he nearly slipped away. The day before his trial, he faked illness and climbed out of a New York federal jail on a rope of knotted bedsheets. Witnesses on the street that day watched a man in white slide down the front of the building, calmly wiping windows as he went. He reached the ground, bowed, and vanished into Manhattan. They caught him in Pittsburgh 27 days later. The sentence, 20 years. The address, Alcatraz. In 1947, after 12 years behind bars, Victor Lustig caught pneumonia and died in a federal prison hospital in Missouri. The man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice left this world in almost total silence. But the paperwork had one last joke to tell. On his death certificate, under occupation, a clerk wrote, apprentice salesman, apprentice. According to the United States government, the greatest salesman of the 20th century died, still learning the trade. For decades, even his real name was an open question. Secret Service kept a file on him under 47 different aliases. Lustig left behind a list. His 10 commandments of the con. Rule number 1, be a patient listener. Never look bored. Let the other man reveal his politics, then agree with him. Let him tell you his religion, then share it. Never be untidy, never get drunk, and never boast. Just let your importance be quietly obvious. Never pry. Ask nothing personal. Because if you're patient enough, they'll volunteer everything. Never discuss illness. Never rush. Rule after rule, the same theme, disappear, and let the mark fill the silence. Read that list again. It's not a criminal manual. It's a customer service handbook. That is exactly what made him lethal. Because here's the part almost nobody notices about this story. Lustig never really sold a tower. He sold Posen a seat at the table. He sold the dealers a government secret. He sold Capone a mirror with honest man written on it. A great con artist doesn't sell lies. He sells you the story you've already decided you deserve. And the easiest person to con is the one who's certain he's about to win. A century later, the tools changed. The script didn't. The urgent, confidential deal. The official who's corrupt in exactly the way you'd expect. The machine that prints money. It just lives in your phone now. Somewhere today, someone is being offered their own Eiffel Tower. They're nodding along because they've already decided they deserve it. This file is closed, but the cabinet is full, and the next one is already on the desk.